I already got a head start on my Black Zambuca for tonight. Boy, was that a boring episode of Monday Night Raw or what? Oh, man. I mean, you could see already. No Brock Lesnar, no Roman Reigns, despite a whole bunch of websites telling you that Seth Rollins would be on tonight. No Seth Rollins. Braun Breaker not even in action. Obafemi not in action. We had Austin Theory and Tozawa. And that went like 6 minutes. Raquel and Roxanne versus Io and Sal was passable. Dragon Lee and Dominic Mysterio, that match was strictly for one reason and one reason only, to give you a quick suspension of disbelief that Dragon Lee possibly has a shot in this tournament to face Roman Reigns. And what else did we get? I remember now. What an awful stipulation. What an awful stipulation. If you think about WWE Creative and you think about this jumping the shark with the bloodline every freaking week, bloodline, you could see, it was funny because LA Knight came out on Raw tonight and he's complaining to Adam Pearce about Roman Reigns being a fraud and, the tournament stuff and all this. And then the same show, he cuts a promo with Kathy Kelly. And he says, that it's Roman says the same shit every week. He didn't curse, but he said it's the same shit. It's the same shit with LA Knight every week. I mean, they have decided that the live WWE universe wants the bloodline stuff. I feel like we're in Groundhog Day. So you do this stipulation on Raw. If it's Jey Uso versus Solo Sikoa in the main event. Nothing against either guy, but sorry, that doesn't seem to knock down my door that I want to see that. Snarl if you don't like that. But the stipulation is, if Solo Sikoa wins, the bloodline leave him alone. But if he loses, Jey Uso hand delivers Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa next week. Now, you think of WWE Creative and this never-ending bloodline shit. Which do you think happens next week? Solo goes back to SmackDown, bloodline leave him alone forever until he swerves and turns, I don't even know what you call it, heel, babyface, what is it? Or do we think that next week Solo Sikoa is presented to Roman Reigns on a silver platter? Get out of here. I'm not trying to be Mr. Complainer. I'm not trying to like crap on everything, but really, this is what I have to look forward to next week. With all due respect, this Roman Reigns Mexico City tournament, this is designed to sell tickets to Mexico City. This is what it is. Whether it's Penta, Rey Fénix, Rey Mysterio, El Hijo del Vikingo, Pagano number 3, Black Tiger, Black Iguana, Mr. Iguana, Mr. Penzo, Mr. Dick in the ass, whoever it is. You think they're going to beat Roman Reigns? No. Mexico City will pop for whoever their beloved is. It's probably going to be Penta. It'll be a match that we haven't seen. But we have to wait 4 weeks of El this versus Senor that and Mr. Blah and El Hijo del This to what? For what? Really? Like, everybody's making a big deal about this tournament. This tournament is nothing. And I'm not trying to disrespect Lucha Libre. I'm a fan of AAA. Not trying to disrespect the participants in the tournament. Yeah, it would be fun to see Rey Fénix and Penta go at it. But at the end of the day, everybody is making it seem like it's a big fucking deal. It's not. It's Triple Mania weekend. And they're going to top it off. They want the Mexican fans to pay top dollar to see one of their homeboys take on Roman Reigns as a bonus. That's what this is. When everything is said and done, whoever faces Roman Reigns is not suddenly a main eventer that is going to be on top and remain on top and feud with the bloodline and feud with this. That's all it is. Seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to like sour on this, but can we just keep it 100 for a little bit? Can we just keep it in perspective? I mean, you look at next week. What do we have to look forward to next week? 2 matches. In this tournament, Roman Reigns returns, and we're going to have Solo Sikoa nonsense. We're going to have LA Knight nonsense. Maybe we'll get lucky and Roman Reigns might comment on the tournament and everything else. Everything else. How many months are we going to be fed Obafemi and Braun Breaker, the tease? How many months? I honestly think we're not going to have to wait that long because we had a spectacular discussion yesterday. I know when I put this thumbnail out there, some people thought, this is just catchy just to try to get people to tune in. No, we made a pretty fucking damn good argument why WWE has a Seth Rollins problem. And then when you think about the fact that for 3 years, not 1, not 2, but for 3, ever since TKO bought WWE, the most number of matches that Seth Rollins has had in a year was 23. For the last 3 years, you add up all of his matches for the last 3 years, it's not even half of what he did in 2023. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The only thing I can think of now is Seth Rollins is going to have some form of alliance with Obafemi. After everything we talked about yesterday, after everything that we possibly could figure out what the hell is next for Seth Rollins, the only thing I could think of is that. And why? Because it'll help Obafemi a little bit, obviously, but look at the opposite side. Seth Rollins still has to do with vision shit. Same shit, Austin Theory, Braun Breaker, same shit. And now you have every week Braun Breaker asking random people, do you think Oba's the future? Do you think Oba's the future? Paul, do you think Oba's the future? Byron, do you think Oba's the future? Of course, and the thing is we're not stupid. Why doesn't Paul Heyman in storyline just say, Braun, you're the future of the WWE. You're the future. I mean, yes, more than one person could be the future, and you don't want Paul Heyman to say that to Braun, but why no reassurance? No, it's Braun, until you prove to me why I should not give respect to Obafemi, I will continue to respect Obafemi. So what are we going to have? A Vision beatdown? A Vision beatdown? Logan Paul can't do nothing right now. Austin Theory? Ooh. Big Bill? Big Kaz? You know, yeah, let's beat up another 200-pound wrestler. Really. I mean, almost everything that I saw, even the stare down with Becky Lynch and Stephanie McMahon tonight. I like it. It's a little different. But, you know, where does this leave us? It basically, what's happening is we're getting put on a scenic route once again. We're getting put on a scenic route. And sure, we have Sunday night's main event coming up. And then you obviously have the other events. And then you got the Road to Survivor Series. And then you got Money in the Bank, which Money in the Bank, you know, that's going to, and listen, a lot of people want to see Roxanne Perez get it. And it kind of makes a lot of sense when you look at the current title situation. But Money in the Bank is a prop to avoid a storyline. And what I mean by that is you don't need to hate your opponent. You don't need to be feuding with your opponent. Your opponent doesn't need to cheap shot you. You don't need to have pull-aparts. You don't need to have contract signings. You don't need to have storyline builds. You don't need to have qualifying matches. You don't need to have tournament matches. You don't need to have weeks of build. You just simply say, you know, I think let's put the belt on Roxanne. Roxanne, you're going to go out there and cash on Liv. But there's no storyline. Well, we really had no build. That's okay. That's what the briefcase is for. It's a wild card. And again, like I've said before, I like Money in the Bank. I like the surprise element. I don't think it's overstepped its boundaries yet. I think it's still great. But let's keep in perspective what that is. So when you think of everything else, LA Knight, if he faces Roman Reigns, is not going to be until Money in the Bank, which is what, October 10th? That's 2 months from now. Roman Reigns' schedule sucks. We broke that down on Wednesday Night Dynamite. Roman Reigns' schedule sucks right now. Every other week. I mean, just think of the weeks that he's not on. What are we getting? LA Knight stuff, Solo Sikoa stuff, Jacob Fatu stuff, Jey Uso stuff, rinse and repeat, mix and match, over and over and over. And where is everything else? I'm kind of blown away by this. I'm kind of blown away by it. And look, if you notice, I'm looking at you. I have not looked at any notes yet. This is just coming straight from here and here. Watch Raw tonight, and I'm trying to think, holy shit, how long are we going to have to wait until this progression with Becky Lynch and Stephanie McMahon? How long are we going to have to wait until we actually get to, you know, a teaser of Obafemi and Braun Breaker? How long are we going to have to get till LA Knight actually gets a shot at Roman Reigns? How long are we going to get until Seth Rollins actually has a clear-cut, decisive storyline again? How long are we going to get with the fucking tag team division? Where's the tag team division? Seriously, you look at everything like what, you know, WWE just takes their time. And here's a little news. And this is directed towards my American friends out there. Now, most of us, let's be honest, most of us do not pay money to see WWE live. We watch in the comfort of our own home. All right. So it doesn't matter if Raw is in Texas or Raw is in Nigeria or Raw is in Iraq or Raw is up your asshole. It doesn't matter where it is. We're watching on TV regardless. But when you see the business side of TKO and the business side of WWE, it obviously becomes concerning because, number one, many people feel that they're shutting out regular everyday fans that just can't afford to go to these big premium live events. And now we are seeing for a second year in a row, a pattern. And this is TKO. And not even my I don't want to say friends, but even my fellow media people at WrestleNomics didn't even pick this up. WWE announced the Royal Rumble for next year, obviously. We know. But they also just announced the road to the Royal Rumble. And why is that important? Because if anybody that's interested, this is the schedule for the road to the Royal Rumble. And I'm curious if anybody picks up on where I'm going with this. This is next year. January 15th, SmackDown, Belgium. Saturday, January 16th, house show, Poland. Sunday, January 17th, house show, Netherlands. Monday, January 18th, Raw, Scotland. You figured it out yet? Friday, January 22nd, SmackDown, England. Saturday, January 23rd, live event, house show, Sweden. Sunday, January 24th, house show, Hungary. Monday, January 25th, Raw, Dublin, Ireland. You remember what we brought up last week? WWE TKO put out their second quarter financial numbers, and everything was up big except for live events and on location. You know, spending $10,000 to take a picture with Danhausen and eat a nugget for free. That's went down. And what did TKO reveal that we didn't realize last year, or this year, I should say? This year, for quarter two, which is the second quarter. Listen, there's 4 quarters in a year. You got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. What WWE is now doing for certain quarters is they're now replacing their touring with overseas. Last year, for quarter two, WWE had 22 international events this year. 22 international events this year. For quarter two, for the fourth, fifth, and sixth months, 22 international events. How many did they have in that same quarter last year? 2. Next year, for quarter one, they've already started it off where almost everything is overseas. The Royal Rumble is here. Nice. But everything else is overseas. This is the formula now. They put these big international tours out there. And remember, production fees, licensing is a lot different when you go to different countries. You know, the advertising is different also. But once again, WWE puts the Royal Rumble here in the States, but everything building up to it is going to be in different countries, different time zones. Not everybody is going to be on each show. And I think it's a pretty glaring problem. I think it is. Lost But Found says he lives in Virginia and those prices are crazy. I wouldn't have a problem. I don't care if they go to outer space. But the problem is that week after week after week, we're being like, you know what it feels like? It feels like there's a drought, or it feels like there's a food shortage, or during the pandemic, there's a toilet paper shortage. And when you wipe your ass, you got to use one sheet. You know, my wife, for some reason, every 2 days, a roll of toilet paper is gone. I don't know what she does. I don't know if she shits like a camel or an elephant, but she goes through toilet paper more than I go through whatever, bills. But the thing is, WWE is treating the product on television week after week like we're in a drought, that it's all hands on deck. Let's just give a little bit. SmackDown Friday was 3 matches. 3. And it was great. Kevin Owens had a confrontation with CM Punk, and there you go again. Cody Rhodes teasing he's going to turn heel for the 900th time. I mean, we cover this every single week, and we want to think positive, and we want to take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad, but this is kind of difficult, man. This is kind of difficult. I love toilet paper, too. I absolutely love toilet paper. But seriously, why is WWE, feeding us like crumbs? like there's a food shortage. I mean, do you realize we're going to go a month from now and we're going to have virtually no product? The only thing that's going to be different a month from now is El Grande Americano will become the mega champion. Penta will likely face Roman Reigns, and everything else is going to be pretty much the same. Think about it. A month from, and maybe we'll get a teaser of the Vision attacking Obafemi, and I think Seth Rollins makes the save. I kind of think that's the only thing I could come up with Seth Rollins. I don't know how you all feel about that, but yeah, I know. Get a bidet. I get it. But the point is, why is WWE you know what it almost feels like? It almost feels like they got their money already. You know, they got their Netflix money. They got ESPN money. They got their Saudi Arabia money. So whether they give us 9 great matches on a card, or if they give us 5 whatever thrown together, or if it's a Raw and they just give us fucking bullshit, or they just want to stretch it and stretch it and stretch it, they've already got their Netflix money. Oh, I thought I heard something inside. So I just wanted to mention that. So let's talk briefly about a few things and we'll get out of here. As you saw in the thumbnail for tonight's show, a couple of things we got to talk about. I appreciate everybody who sent me feedback about the sentencing that we talked about with Too Cold Scorpio. I had someone who claims to be a lawyer. The way he wrote the email, either he is or he just used AI, but he explained to me in a little bit more detail why Too Cold Scorpio pretty much is going to have to do 5 to 6 years minimum. Also, I should have mentioned when we talked about that yesterday that, this was a little bit of a plea agreement also. He agreed to plead guilty. All right, so there was some negotiations with the district attorney in Missouri. So, we don't think he's going to get like a 10 or a 13-year sentence, but there is some negotiation there. So we'll know in about a month and a half how much jail time Scorpio faces. A lot of you out there reached out to me about the TKO Vince McMahon shareholder lawsuit settlement that came out over the weekend, $147 million. And it's not finalized yet, but because I am in the insurance industry for almost 28 years, I know about E&O insurance, errors and omissions. I know about professional liability coverage. I know about, policies like this. And, the thing is, a lot of people are confused as to who's actually paying what in this lawsuit. So I wanted to share with you based on my personal, because that's the line of business I'm in. I'm sure Dave Meltzer will call me a fraudster. I'm in the insurance industry. He's not. He'll tell me how to sell car insurance or liability insurance or professional liability or anything else. But here's the deal. All right. If you remember, the WWE shareholders filed a class action lawsuit after the $21 billion deal with WWE Endeavor, the deal, okay? Basically, what their argument is that Vince McMahon breached his fiduciary duties as chairman of the board on behalf of the stockholders. And basically, he did this to secure his own leadership, protect himself, and did this deal. Now, when we first heard this lawsuit, we thought, look how the stock went up. Anybody that owns shares benefited big time with this. So I thought this lawsuit was kind of comical because if the stock would have tanked, different story. But the more you started to look into this and you started hearing about the calls with Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon and the emails, and then the McMahons, and Stephanie was part of it and others who deleted stuff, almost like BleachBit with Hillary Clinton, if you remember that nonsense. They were obviously intentionally deceiving, hiding things. So now a settlement has been reached, $147.5 million that goes to lawyers and shareholders, obviously. Now, what a lot of people won't tell you is that there is a gigantic insurance policy involved. See, like me, and this is God honest truth, me, I have an insurance business since 1998. If I take my customers' money and go to Atlantic City with it and gamble it, and I don't buy their insurance, and then something happens, I get sued. I have insurance to cover my ass. Well, guess what? The insurance company might say, no, you committed a crime. We're not covering it. But if someone gives me money and says, I want $100,000 liability on my car insurance, and I make a mistake and I only write 10, or I only write 50, or you want to insure your house for $1 million and I insure it for $600,000, and I make a mistake, or someone comes in and gives me a payment and I forget to give it to the insurance company, honest mistake, I get sued. And my insurance policy will cover my errors or my omissions. I pay thousands of dollars every year for 26 years to protect myself in case I ever screwed up. Now, thank God I've never screwed up. No one's ever had a claim. But in order for me to deal with insurance companies, I have to show that I have this insurance. Because if I fuck up, the insurance companies could be sued also. See where I'm going with this with Vince McMahon? So when they purchased their insurance for WWE or TK or whatever their company is, they cover not only the company, but they also cover the executives. So Vince McMahon is part of WWE. I know a lot of people out there, especially the ones that don't like Vince McMahon, are telling you that Vince McMahon is responsible for $42.5 million of that $147 million lawsuit. That's what they're telling you. What they're not telling you is that Vince McMahon feels, I'm an executive for WWE. You should pay a lot of my share. They settled. So obviously Vince was willing to pay something, but the insurance company isn't going to just pick up the tab. This is negotiations. So now what's happening is the insurance companies are trying to figure out how much they pay on behalf of Vince. That's really what this comes down to. So I try to explain it in a very down-to-earth way. I don't fucking read wiki statements. I'm not extremely professional. I try to explain it to you like I'm explaining it to a retard. And I don't mean that calling you retards, but I want to, you know how the phrase goes, explain it to me as if I'm in third grade? That's what I try to do. So that's what's going on right now. But I also want to remind you all something. Something, if you tuned into not this past week's history show, the week before. If anybody out there that thinks, oh my God, Vince, maybe he's got to pay $42 million. That's a lot of money to pay out. Remember this, my friends. I'll say this in closing. Episode 31 of This Week in Wrestling History was the 1-year anniversary that ESPN inked the 5-year deal with WWE, $1.6 billion. Remember that? Remember what we covered on that history show. In 7 days, when WWE announced the deal last year, remember Cody went on ESPN, CM Punk did comments, Triple H did comments, all this buzz. In the first 7 days last year, after ESPN and WWE inked that deal, Vince McMahon made $230 million on the stock that he still had. He made $230 million. That's not even including the billions he made when he sold the company. So when you think, oh my God, Vince, $42 million, that's nothing. That is nothing. That's like us taking $10 out of my wallet. That's what it is. You fucked all these people up. You screwed the women, you screwed this, you screwed that. And how do I make it go away? When you figure out his net worth and then you start taking zeros off and you realize, even if he has to give Janelle Grant $50 million, when you start taking zeros off, it's like you going in your wallet and giving somebody a $20 bill. So when you hear this monopoly money, just remember that there were billions of dollars involved. 147 million is a great payday, but at the end of the day, especially if the lawyers get 1/3 of that shit, this is a drop in the bucket. It is a drop in the bucket. Now you have to realize, insurance companies are not going to be thrilled about this. But here's the funny thing about it too. Anybody that knows anything about insurance, claims usually stay on your record for 3 years. Sometimes it's 5 years. A lot of claims, homeowners claims, car insurance claims, commercial liability claims. Sometimes insurance companies want to see 5 years of loss runs. But what's my point? The sale was how many years ago? So even though there's a paid claim for whatever the millions upon millions it is, in a very short amount of time, that claim is off the books because it happened so long ago. It's like if you get into a car accident in late 2023 and it takes 3 years or 4 years to settle and the other people end up getting $1 million. Oh my God, the insurance is paying $1 million. Oh, my record. And then you realize, wait, my accident was over 3 years ago. It's not even on my record anymore. It's not from the day that the claim is settled. It's the day that the loss occurred. So this is not even an issue for TKO. I think it's more of an issue where TKO and WWE and Vince McMahon is like, fuck them all. I don't want to give them a penny. That's what I think it is. I think let's just let them sweat it out and let's see how far we could go with this. And then finally they just gave up. So, we'll get back to Raw in a second. I wanted to share a couple other quick things. In the latest edition, and I kind of feel bad doing this because I've warmed up on WrestleVotes, but no one is innocent of this. And I'm going to share with you right now. Even WrestleVotes is guilty of doing this. In the latest edition of I'm Talking from Both Sides of My Fucking Mouth, they did it with Jordynne Grace. And this one's a doozy. Now, again, I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to a third grader. Just put wrestling aside, put contracts aside, put creative aside, just use real life for a minute. Okay? Basically, they're trying to say that Jordynne Grace's absence from WWE television is not because WWE lost interest in her. Okay? Now, let's just stop right there. The headline is that Jordynne Grace's absence from WWE TV is not because WWE lost interest in her. Now, what I expected to hear next is family member ill, mental break, honeymoon, rekindling vows, something, graduations, family crisis, syphilis, whatever you want to come up. That's the excuse I expected. Because if WWE doesn't have Jordynne Grace on TV and they haven't lost interest in her, you would think something occurred, which would prevent her from being on TV. So now I read you their explanation. Remember, file is from Talking on Both Sides of My Mouth. I don't need to be a college graduate to figure this shit out. Listen to this word salad. I'm going to read it to you exact. Jordynne Grace is simply caught in the numbers game on SmackDown. The show was reduced from 3 hours to 2 hours. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton are taking up significant TV time. Jordynne Grace has struggled to find a spot. She is healthy and available, but WWE currently doesn't have enough TV time to feature everyone. Isn't that the definition of losing interest in someone? If I have someone that I'm interested in, that I want the fans to see, I put them on the fucking television. Isn't that what it is? You're talking from both sides of your mouth. WWE has not lost interest in her, but there's only so many hours in a week, so, they still have interest in her, but they just don't have enough. Come on. Come on, seriously? I mean, do I have to fucking get a brain aneurysm? Do I need to blow off half my head? Do I need to go on the Ric Flair diet to make this make sense? I mean, if she's not on fucking TV, well, you could have said the same thing about the Wyatt Six. You could have said the same thing about fucking anybody. They're not using her. You're spending that kind of money and there's only not too much time on TV. How come you're not using her in AAA? How come you're not using her in NXT? Why aren't you putting her on Raw? Why aren't you having her work house shows? Why aren't you having her make appearances here and there? Why don't you do a 6-woman tag? Why don't you do a two-woman tag? Why don't you get a little creative? Do a talking segment. Have her sit ringside. Have her fucking drink energy drinks. You're like, she's not on TV. She's healthy and she's available. And WWE still has loads of interest in her. There's just not enough time on television. Come on. Seriously. That's someone who doesn't want to disrespect Jordynne Grace and wants to answer a question but doesn't want to tell you straight out one way or the other. Because if they say that WWE lost interest in her, that's fucked up to Jordynne Grace. And then if she pops up back on TV, they look stupid. If WWE did lose interest in her, and they don't say that, and then something happens, she gets released or something, you know what I mean? So what do? You say both things, and you try to make it make sense. We're not that stupid. We're not that dumb. We're not in 5th grade. That's, someone's not on TV for that fucking long. That is losing interest in someone. You don't take them off TV and have no storylines or nothing. That's nonsense. Nonsense. By the way, I think Jordynne Grace should be on television. I think she's fucking tremendous. And I think ever since even in NXT, I kind of felt that she was a little bit mistreated, a little bit disrespected. I think she was so above so many women there that it's not that they brought her down to be on their level. It's just like, we won't give her that much. So by not giving her that much, then we don't have to show everyone and remind everyone why we should be giving her more. It's kind of like what Macho Man with Miss Elizabeth back in the day. You know, you don't want everybody to see how, amazing of a woman she is and how she could go out and enjoy life and hang out with friends and go camping and go shopping. And maybe they said, so I'll lock her in a closet. This way she can never see what it's like to be in a free world. I know that's a stretch, but I was watching a biography earlier today, so it's just stuck on my mind. You don't want someone to see someone's potential. You hide them. You shield them. You don't use them all that much. You don't want to give them enough where people are like, oh my God, why aren't they using this person? If someone is that talented and that productive, you make room for that person. And if you can't make room for that person, then why do you sign all these fucking people for? Why did you sign them? All right, anyway. I know that was kind of a stretch with Macho Man, right? Can I say something that I thought was pretty fucking cool? If anybody's into old school hip hop, I popped for this one. Javon Evans did an interview. And I don't know if it was with the Breakfast Club. I don't know who it was with. But they were asking him, like, if he had, like, a WrestleMania entrance, if he could have one song, what would he choose? And listen, I'm a chubby white Italian guy. But I will admit, back in the 90s, I tuned into Mobb Deep also. And he said that he would love to come out to Shook Ones 2. Remember that song from 1995? I sound like the white people in Norfolk, Virginia tonight trying to do Jacob Fatu's promo. It's Fatu. You're like, oh my, when we get to the Raw recap, we'll do it the right way. When he cut that promo on LA Night, I'm listening to the crowd. I'm like, oh my God, all these freaking white folk out there trying to act like Jacob Fatu with his street thug California fucking verbiage. That was pretty funny tonight. But, the thing is, Prodigy of Mobb Deep died, 10 years ago? He had to have died about 10 years ago. So, but when Javon Evans, when I heard him say he would love to have Shook Ones 2, because it was 2 songs, I was like, that's cool, man. And you know WWE would not use that. But yeah, I just figured I'd share it. So, all right. We'll talk about the AJ Styles son thing a little bit more later. Because you saw my thumbnail, you kind of know how I feel about this. I titled it Dragged by a Douche. There's one douchebag that basically opened the floodgates about AJ Styles' son. I see all these dumb Polacks online talking about nepotism and this and that. This is a fucking father just looking out for his son that's very new to professional wrestling. And he could have had sit-downs and talks with his son for years and years and years about what the business is all about. Until you actually lace up the boots and go to shows, you don't truly understand it. And people can't just fucking cut a break because the kid is AJ Styles' son. I think that's ridiculous. I'll talk about that later. But I wanted to share with you what I honestly think is the douchiest of douching for the entire week. This will get some people angry. If I didn't get you angry already with some stupidity I said tonight, I'm about to get you angry. You all know what's going on with Jim Ross, right? This Wednesday, Jim Ross is going in for a brain surgery, brain procedure. I'm going to share with you what that is. Because a lot of people just clickbait and said he's having brain surgery. And you think brain surgery, you think, oh my God, he may not make it. I want to share with you actually what he's having done and how serious it is. And then we get to literally, seriously, if What Culture was a person and had an S in front of me right now, I'd get arrested for shoving this up it violently. Because what they wrote online, there's something called Read the Room. I'm going to show you a screenshot of something that is going to anger every single one of you. Even if you don't like Jim Ross. Even if you bought a bad bottle of barbecue sauce once or you got food poisoning, you will feel bad. I want to set this up first by just showing you something. Okay? He is having, in simple terms, a brain shunt implanted in his brain. What that is, it's a device that is attached to part of your brain. Your brain has fluid, okay? Your brain has fluid. And before I say anything else, you ever hear of someone who has like a stroke or an aneurysm or something with the brain, and they literally will drill a hole in the brain to let the swelling down or to let the fluid out? I'm sure some of you out there have heard that happen to somebody, okay? If you keep that idea on your brain, you will understand where I'm going with this, okay? He's having a device implanted in his brain, and it's connected to a tube. And that tube goes all the way to your stomach. And what that tube is traveling is not vitamins and nutrients. It's fluid building in his brain. Let me put it like this, and I'm not trying to be funny. You can't simply just put a hole in Jim Ross's brain and he's on commentary doing Dynamite and he's like, everybody, wait a minute, and start turning his head and brain fluid starts dripping out. I kind of like got water everywhere just now. That's not how it works. His brain is developing fluid. And when you have too much fluid on your brain, you die. And they have to alleviate the brain fluid. So what do? They're going to install this device in his brain connected to a tube, and it goes all the way down to his abdomen. And basically, it'll keep any fluid from building up. And it goes into his stomach. Now, just imagine first of all, how uncomfortable that must be. Just think about all of this foreign matter going into your stomach on top of it. Not only that, there is so much risk. There is so much risk involved. You have to worry about the tube getting clogged. And that's not a joke. If the tube clogs, that's it. There's no place for the fluid to go. Could you imagine if it's halfway down and it stops? I'm not trying to be funny. Seriously, not only that, it could develop serious infection. So he could go back to everyday life. I don't know if he does commentary. I think, he could if he wanted to, but he will be closely monitored. This is something that needs to be checked often. Jim Ross could go on and live a productive life and live out whatever years normally. But there is so much risk involved with this procedure. He'll be out of the hospital in one day. That's the crazy thing about it. You could be out of the hospital in a day or two. They install the device, and if it's a success, that's it. The fluid, I don't know what kind of medication he has to be on to deal with the stomach stuff, but it's a very serious procedure. And my thoughts and prayers are with Jim Ross. And, I wish more people out there would have explained this a little bit more as far as what he's having done. But I want to show you what culture, what these motherfuckers did. I logged online today, and I was checking out like news and stuff like that. I get suggested videos, suggested articles, and something pops up from What Culture. I want you to just look at the screen right now. This is a screenshot. I did not alter it in any way. It is a picture of Jim Ross with his hand up in the air, waving almost like goodbye. In the background is a gigantic word that says done. And then the title of the video is It's Over for Jim Ross. I mean, how insensitive do you motherfuckers have to be? And if anybody says to me, well, Don Tony, maybe they check. I don't know if people understand when links like this and photos like this are spread across the net, that's because somebody posted it and released it, complete with links. I've been doing my own website since 1998, okay? This is what these motherfuckers do. Now, even if you're covering the brain surgery, even if you're covering that his career is likely over, you fucking put in giant letters the word done, and the title of the article is It's Over for Jim Ross? I mean, how insensitive do you have to be? And these motherfuckers have 2 million followers, 2 million morons on fucking YouTube. And that's what they put out there. And they could have easily deleted that. But just imagine somebody at What Culture, I don't know what asshole did this. Somebody at What Culture went in their computer, whether they did Photoshop, Adobe Express, whatever, AI, somebody there was like, let me do a banner with Jim Ross waving goodbye. And let me write giant white letters, done. I know he's going in for brain surgery and he's going to have fluid move from his brain down to his ass. And not only that, I'm going to title it, It's Over for Jim Ross. That is fucked up. I could be an asshole. That is just punch in the mouth territory. That is just awful. And let me tell you something. I've been doing this since 1997. Those motherfuckers never showed any love to me or Kev or anyone else. They'll show love to other people out there. And honestly, I take pride in the fact that these assholes never showed any love or any respect towards us. Not even when Kev died. Not one motherfucker. All right. And honestly, that's not company I want. I'd rather be on a desert island by myself than to be surrounded by douchebag assholes like that. So, just wanted to say that. Can we mention this douchebag? 5 minutes of fame. Eric Cannon, 44 years old. You kind of, like I look at Eric Cannon's head. And you know what the thing I see? I'll explain the Jimmy Hart photo in the background. If I could get away with a crime, I would turn around and say, you know what? I want to do a documentary on Raja Jackson and what he did to Psycho Stu. And I would do a casting call. And I would say, I want a professional wrestler that looks similar to Psycho Stu to play the part of Psycho Stu in my documentary documenting what Raja Jackson did to him. And this motherfucker, Eric Cannon, would call me up and say, hey, listen, I saw the part available. Can I apply? Sure, you can apply. In fact, here's my number. Here's my cell number. Here's my apartment number. Come over now. Bring cake. And I'd sign that motherfucker, and I'd have him sign the contract and not read the fine print. And the fine print is, oh, by the way, the person who plays Raja Jackson is legitimately going to beat the fuck out of you. That is a face that that's what I would do with Eric Cannon. I would do a documentary on Raja Jackson and what he did to Psycho Stu. I have him play the role, and I'd have the person actually beat the fuck out of him. Because that's, to me, what that guy deserves. This is a guy looking for 5 minutes of fame, 44 years old, that is taking a kid. I don't care if it's AJ Styles' son. I don't care if it's his lover. I don't care if it's the president's son. I don't care if it's Obama's son, Trump's son, Biden's son. I don't care if it's Vince's son, fucking Tony Khan's son. I don't care if it's fucking Nick Aldis, Nick Swisher. I don't care whose son it is. For people that don't know the story, all right? AJ Styles' son is now getting into wrestling. And he's getting some bookings. So he works GCW over the weekend. And we talked about this yesterday. A lot of people that are students breaking in, haven't built a career yet, they pay dues. They put up the ring, they set up chairs, they'll assist in different ways. I talked about some of the stuff that I did in the past and some of the stuff I didn't do in the past. Whatever. So AJ Styles' son did not put up the ring, did not set up the chairs, and basically you have some people in wrestling calling out AJ Styles' son. And this motherfucker was the leader of the pack. And then what he does is he writes on X, as someone who watched this kid skirt away from helping a single thing at this very show, I'd like to just say LOFNL. So AJ Styles responds back and says he was paid to wrestle at GCW, not help put up and take down the ring. This sounds like it's your job. You just sound like a jealous douche. Now, let me be clear. Not everybody thought what AJ Styles said was great. People accused him of nepotism. People said, people pay dues and that's what you're supposed to do. Now, I'm not going to repeat all the stuff I said yesterday, but one thing is for sure. Most shows, it is optional, but you should always offer to help. And I personally think whether it was AJ Styles' son or if it's a student that had no Hall of Fame father, when someone is new in wrestling and they're at your show, and they haven't been there before, for the most part. And everybody else is putting up a ring or putting chairs out, and they see AJ Styles' son in the corner. Someone should go up to him and say, hey, listen, you want to help us put out some chairs? Or you want to help us put the ring together? This is what, a lot of us do, just to help out a little bit, just to give back. And I guarantee you AJ Styles' son probably would have said, sure. All right. I, myself, did managing and wrestling for 6 years. I was in and around wrestling from 2002 to 2009. From XPW to all the other shit. I never, ever put a ring up or took it down. I offered a few times. And they said, no, we're good. We're good. I didn't know how to put a ring up or take it down. I guarantee you that there's some young people out there that are afraid. What if I put it up wrong? What if I don't tighten this enough and somebody slips and cracks their head? There's a lot of things, but I personally think this guy saw AJ Styles' son not doing something. Go up to him. Somebody young in the business, go up to somebody who's new. Hey, I know you haven't been around here, but we all like to, like help out a little bit, just, and if he says, nah, man, that's not what I'm here for, then you have a right to say something. I don't criticize GCW. I think they do a decent job. I've warmed up on them over the years. But I also feel that somebody there should have stepped up a little bit, taken the kid aside and say, hey, listen, you want to help us a little bit? And look, I don't care if AJ Styles told his son to do it or not to do it or never told him to do whatever it is. AJ Styles is just protecting his son. AJ Styles sees, and this is why I think this guy is such a douchebag, because this motherfucker knows the minute you write that online, not only does it become viral, but that shit never leaves. You got AJ Styles' son who's brand new to wrestling, that's going to make mistakes, that's not going to know how everything is done, is going to be a little bit naive. I mean, I'm not trying to make it about me, but what did I used to tell you guys years ago? When I first started to do some work for USA Pro Wrestling, you saw the documentary with Abdullah the Butcher, and you see me in that documentary. I managed Abby for one night. And what do you see in that documentary? Everybody walking up to everybody. Hey, how you doing? Anthony DeBlasi. Hey, how you doing? So-and-so. Hey, my name is Anthony. Nice to meet you. This to that. In USA Pro Wrestling, it was customary that every person walks up to everybody and introduces themselves. It doesn't matter if you're in a main event on the card or if you're a student that opens up the show. Look back at the controversy. Think CM Punk and Insane Clown Posse. If you want a good example of that story, look them up. Look up that story and you'll see what I'm talking about. Me, I felt intimidated. When I first got there and I see everybody walking up to these larger-than-life wrestlers, I felt intimidated. I felt intimidated to go up to Abdullah the Butcher and say, hey, nice to meet you, Anthony. Like, you get a little starstruck. I had Lowlife Louie and others to give me advice and walk me through it. And even him, he says, hey, I want to introduce you to a few people. And that's what you do. You offer guidance. People offered it to me. So I find fault at everybody who didn't just look at him at face value and say, this is somebody new to the business that doesn't have a clue, it doesn't understand. You take that person aside and you guide them. You don't just fucking run to Twitter and say something derogatory. I don't care if AJ Styles is his father or not. Now this shit stays online forever. And is that fair to this kid, if we're being honest? Is it fair? For everyone out there that's put up rings until they were 90, you're probably a little annoyed at it, but is that truly fair? This guy is a douchebag. And he takes a picture of Jimmy Hart picking up a chair, and it looks like he's helping to set up. And trust me, I went to the big event 5 years ago, I think it was, and Jimmy Hart was there, and when they set up their table, they were putting the chairs aside. Everybody was doing it. That's very, very commendable of Jimmy Hart. But you don't turn around and say, look at an 80-year-old. Even an 80-year-old does that. Fuck you. That is a douchebag looking for 5 minutes of fame that is probably bitter that he didn't amount to beans, and he wants to take it out and make himself look like he's representing all the people who have paid the dues all their life. And sir, for all I know, you could kick my ass. All right? This is not about it's not about physical stuff. You're just a douchebag. That's not somebody that I would take advice from. That guy's a douchebag. You got somebody new in the business. How's about guiding them instead of tweeting about them? And it pisses me off because I watch people that I know, that I'm friends with, that know better. And you would think that they would kind of like see this the same way, but no, never pass up a good opportunity for a little bit of ad revenue and try to stir up the shit. It's kind of like, it reminds me when Karrion Kross got his contract, take it or leave it, 24 hours last year, which this week is the anniversary of it. I can't tell you how many people, and Kross knows who they are, I can't tell you how many people that I knew personally that knew damn well that Kross's contract was over. that they gave him an ultimatum, sign this deal. What about Scarlett? Don't worry about Scarlett next week. Just sign the deal. 24 hours, otherwise it's off the table. I watch people that I know, that I'm friends with, and they're right. Is it a shoot? Is it a work? Is he working us? Is it part shoot? Is it, we do not know what to believe. Fuck you. Seriously. Because this is somebody who supported all of us. And because you need a little bit of ad revenue for 5 days, you fucking blurred a line when you knew damn well that guy's contract was over. I mean, it's just awful to see shit like this. And I get mad. I legitimately get mad when I see stuff like this. Because no one out there, for some reason, has, the mentality, just common sense. It's just common sense. We had that conversation yesterday about Brian Alvarez and others. You look at the tournament for Roman Reigns' opponent. Common sense would tell you, why would Dominic and El Grande Americano be in a tournament? They're fighting for the title. He's the champion. And the other one's going to be the champion. Why would they be in a tournament when the whole weekend is centered around their championship match? How are you going to wrestle a tournament and the match at the same time? I know some people are like, well, Ludwig Kaiser could be in the tournament and this person could. I get it. But the point is, because somebody tells you, hey, breaking news, this is red, I'm going to report it. My sources tell me that this is likely, possibly, reportedly red. And then people find out it's blue. Oh, no, but that's what I was told. Do you ever take a step back and say, that doesn't make sense. Why would they be in the tournament if they're fighting for a title? I appreciate that you gave me this insider information. And I've observed, pun intended, the situation. I think we're going to hold off on the story until they announce the brackets. Yeah, but if you don't tell the story and they announce the brackets, you can't say that you have an exclusive because the brackets are already out. Post it now, and even if it's wrong, as long as you got your story out there. So, douchebag. Most of us agree? I mean, listen, if you disagree with me, I totally respect that. But to me, that's a douche. That's a douche. LOFNL. What are you, 12? So, all right. A couple of injury updates. Then we'll recap Raw. We'll answer a couple of questions, a couple of super shout-outs, and get out of here. As you can see in the thumbnail, no, that's not Chelsea Green's mask. But she did have one very similar when Doudrop was still around. Remember before they released Alba Fire, the political satire thing that Chelsea Green was doing, her cabinet and everything. Listen, I'm a big fan of Piper Niven, and I hope that she could return to wrestling. But she did have a mask similar. And the injury update is that they are going to do a mask for Chelsea Green. I don't think she's going to miss a significant amount of time. She will have some sort of mask that'll protect the orbital bone. Now, listen, I revisited the Rhea Ripley orbital bone masks. I revisited JC Jane's. I saw Undertaker's too, but I didn't think Undertaker's was sexy. I thought Undertaker looked like Phantom of the Opera, if we're being honest, right? If anybody remembers Phantom of the Opera. I looked at Rhea Ripley's mask, I looked at JC Jane's, and I was like, damn, those look sexy. I mean, I would think in a perfect world you wouldn't want to have a broken orbital bone to wear a mask like that, but this Chelsea Green will trick it up and make it look very custom and personal. So Chelsea Green should be fine. Bad luck, no question, but Chelsea Green should be good. I don't think that title will be going nowhere. Best wishes go out to Andrade. In case you're living under a rock, Andrade got his head split open like a cantaloupe this past week. He needed staples to close the wound. Now you got this tournament coming up, this deal with AEW, so he's going to have to, heal up pretty quickly. And I think he will, because don't forget, Dominic Mysterio had his head split open not too long ago, and 2 weeks later he was wrestling on TV. Who else got their head split open? Female wrestler, NXT on the way out. Didn't Zarya accidentally like dump her like on like part of the table, and she split her head open. She was wrestling 2 weeks later. So I think Andrade will be fine. And obviously I told you about Jim Ross earlier. So prayers go out to JR, man. Because you don't want to know something? The surgery should be successful. But that doesn't mean that he's going to not have complications and, just uncomfortable. Just having something like that is not good. It's bad enough. I had my gallbladder taken out 5 years ago because I had a problem. We've talked about that on the other shows. But I had my gallbladder taken out. And, now because I don't have a gallbladder, all the acid that my body makes all hits my stomach at the same time. Now, luckily for me, I eat so much food that the acid breaks down all the food, so I don't have too many complications. But on days that I'm like, I'm not too hungry today, it hurts. It sucks, but it's part of what it is. Now, if anybody's ever had their gallbladder taken out and had that complication, just imagine Jim Ross and having to deal with that with his stomach. And especially if he had his gallbladder taken out, not only is he going to have insane amounts of acid down there, but he's going to have fucking brain fluid. Something tells me that brain fluid is not nutritious and delicious. So I really sincerely hope that, not only is this a success, but he doesn't deal with a lot of complications. So, all right. Let's recap Raw. Very, very frustrating Raw. And we'll talk about Zilla Fatu as we close it out. Actually, before we get into Raw, let me just give a pair of super shout-outs, if you don't mind. Shout out to Lost and Found once again. We talked about what you said earlier about ticket prices, and yes, it's crazy. And I feel like, look, WWE's in your town. You're not doing nothing. Let me go out, spend a couple of dollars with my family. And I think after a while, people are getting a little bit tired of this stuff. Especially when they don't, it's bad enough that they didn't advertise the matches for SummerSlam, what was going to be on each night till 5 days before. But whenever you go to a Raw or a SmackDown, they never really advertise matches in advance. They advertised Seth Rollins tonight. They didn't get it. They advertised a few things. Roman Reigns was never advertised for tonight, but still, you got what you got tonight. Would I pay premium Raw money for that? A Raw ticket prices are hundreds of dollars. You want to sit on the floor, it still is well over $1,000. And you go there with a few people, you go on a date, you want to impress your date, make your date feel like you got money, so you go get second or third row, and you end up dropping $1,500 so you could see fucking Solo Sikoa quickly tap out because of a Jimmy Uso distraction and a fucking Solo Sikoa, a Jey Uso splash or fucking spear. A Jimmy Uso's distraction, and that's enough to make me fucking have to be handed over to Roman Reigns. Now, in a perfect world, storyline-wise, they hand Solo Sikoa over to Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa punches Roman Reigns in the mouth. And then I'm supposed to say to myself, am I supposed to cheer this or boo it? That's the whole problem with the storyline. Who are you supposed to cheer? Even Solo Sikoa, which we will mention momentarily. Solo Sikoa opened up Raw. And you know what? I'll save this WWE sloppy women super chat in a few moments. Let's recap Raw first, because I think that's a good discussion to have after I describe some of what I saw tonight with the women too on Raw. So everything tonight was surrounded around this stipulation. This was the stipulation to match the main event Raw. If Jey Uso wins, Jey Uso delivers Solo Sikoa to Roman Reigns next week on Raw. If Solo Sikoa wins, the Bloodline leave him alone. I feel so bad right now for Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga. Oh my God, they're almost like in AOP territory right now. Like, what do you do with those motherfuckers? You gonna turn them babyface? I mean, really, they're like two men on a fucking desert Samoan island with no fish and no water and no nothing. Those two, I honestly think those two are goners. I think they put Haku out there for a short amount of time, like Haku, let's put you out there now because in short order they ain't gonna be around much more. So you get your fill now. Check it off your bucket list. Because in a couple of weeks, there ain't gonna be no more bucket. You ain't gonna there's no Jinder Mahal bucket waiting for you. So this was the fucking stipulation tonight. And as I'm looking at this stipulation, I keep saying to myself, gee, if I'm WWE creative and looking at all this Groundhog Day stuff with the bloodline for the last bunch of months, gee, what do I think is gonna happen next week? Is Solo Sikoa gonna be like, good, they're gonna leave me alone. Now I can go back to Raw, to SmackDown, and I can be a used car salesman. And who do I call out? I don't have the bloodline to call out anymore. Who do I call out? Trick Williams? Baron Corbin? I can't even mock them anymore. They leave me alone. This was awful. Raw opens up tonight. Norfolk, Virginia. Solo Sikoa is in the crowd. And he's making fun of Jey Uso. Day one, not it's just me-us. He's saying it's just a me-us. Like he's like an Italian Samoan. Hey, it's just a me-us. Day one, it's just a me-us. And the crowd is like kind of booing it, kind of cheering it, acting like we all do, like, how am I supposed to react to this? And then Solo Sikoa says, Norfolk, Virginia. So, oh, yeah. They all cheer that. It's kind of like when Mick Foley used to say, right here in Norfolk, Virginia. And they pop. So they pop by default. So he's doing the whole Jey Uso thing. Your boy Solo is now in your city. And the crowd is kind of like, I don't know how I'm supposed to react to this, but I know I'm supposed to pop for Norfolk, Virginia. So one thing that did surprise me, when Solo Sikoa recapped what happened last week on Raw, what Jacob Fatu did to Royce Keys, and he said that the bloodline took out Royce Keys, crowd booed, and booed hard. And I was like, okay, pretty cool for Royce Keys, because the crowd booed at what Jacob Fatu and the bloodline did last week. They're supposed to be baby faces. They booed the shit out of it. I'm like, okay, we got a little, clarity here. Forget that 30 seconds later. Solo Sikoa reveals that he's on Raw to handle some family business. And Jey Uso's music hits. Now, the fans just booed what they all did to Royce Keys last week. As soon as Jey Uso's music hits, everybody in the crowd, it's just me, Us. Day one, it's just me. And it's click her baby face. Whole fucking baby face thing. And then we get the rinse and repeat. They did this with Jimmy. They did this with Jay. They did this with Jacob Fatu. Jey Uso gets on the mic and he's pissed off. He's like, yeah, really? You want to air out family business on Raw? Motherfucker, your whole family's been airing out family business on Raw. I mean, I literally watching the same storylines revisited. And trust me, it happened with the women tonight too. I don't know if anybody caught it. I will get to that momentarily. Solo Sikoa starts running down Jey Uso's accomplishments when he was a babyface, which he still is. I think he talks about beating Gunther. Talks about how the crowd used to love him. Now he says about Jey Uso, he says, now it sucks to be you. And again, the crowd doesn't know how to react to this because they pop for Jey Uso. It's not like, oh, good one, Solo. Yeah, it sucks to be you, Jay. The only person I think that would say that right now is a divorce lawyer. Really. So Solo Sikoa says, me, I'm good. I don't need no bloodline. And then he's like, everybody in Virginia loves where Solo is, baby. And the crowd pops a little bit again. And they're still acting like, I don't know how I'm supposed to react to this. And this goes back to SummerSlam. You go back to that 6-man. Who are we supposed to cheer? When the bloodline laid them all out 2, 3, 4 weeks before, attacking LA Knight, who are we supposed to boo here? Who are we supposed to cheer? It's almost like they've totally, like, it's no longer, you know, like 2 columns, so to speak. You know, just imagine if you had a movie. I mean, choose any movie you want. Choose old stuff like Die Hard. Choose newer stuff from today. And you can't figure out, like, who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. Who's the hero and who's the villain. And it's just all over the fucking place. I guarantee you halfway through that movie, you walk out. Or you're on your phone. Or just something else is going on. I don't know. But, so anyway, Jay tells Solo Sikoa to shut your cocky, spoiled, disrespectful ass up. And that gets a little bit of a pop. Then we get the fucking Jacob Fatu stuff. Jay looks at Solo and says, I fed you. I changed your diapers. You're here because of us. Same shit that they did about Jacob Fatu. You're here because of us. Jay issues the challenge for the match tonight. Solo Sikoa accepts. Solo wins. Bloodline leaves me alone forever. He loses. He's presented on a silver platter to Roman Reigns next week. And that's what we got. Moments later, Jey Uso bumps into Jimmy and Jacob in the back. And Jacob, you know, talking a little bit too much Cali. Yo, you trying to run your plate yourself. You know, he's very, very Cali street-wise. You know, that's his thing. People love it. I mean, I'm not dissing it at all. I was totally bought into Jacob Fatu. But it's so confusing sometimes. It's so confusing with his character. But, you know, they're basically accusing Jay of going into business for himself. And like, you better take care of business tonight. Better take care of business. So, in the first round of the tournament to determine the number one contender for 1 week only in Mexico, I should say it like that, for Roman Reigns' World Heavyweight Championship. Tonight on Raw, we had Penta defeat Laredo Kid. So Penta will advance, and he will face, in, I believe, 2 weeks, the winner of Psycho Clown versus La Parka. Something tells me Psycho Clown versus La Parka may happen on AAA television. I don't think it'll happen on SmackDown. I'd be very surprised if it does, because if people didn't realize it tonight, and trust me, a lot of people online did notice it, Laredo Kid got, as some people called it, the Kiana James pop. Nobody gave a shit. With all quite honesty, it isn't just Saudi Arabia. Do you remember the Royal Rumble when La Parka, Mr. Iguana, came out for the Royal Rumble? Remember Saudi Arabia? They're like, hey, I'm going to get the pretzel. Oh, I forget. We do not make the pretzels in Saudi Arabia. I pretend to get the pretzel. Nobody gave a shit. And if we're being honest, regular casual viewers are not going to give a shit about Psycho Clown and La Parka. Unless maybe if Big Kaz comes out and lays them both out. Nobody's going to care. Then you have on the opposite brackets, Dragon Lee versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., which happens next week on Raw. And Rey Fenix takes on El Fiscal. El Fiscal. Somebody asked earlier, does that mean he's fiscally responsible? No, Fiscal means he is like a sergeant. He's like a sergeant. I don't know how much of a sergeant he'll be next week when he loses to Rey Fenix. But Dragon Lee is going to take on El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. And Rey Fenix will take on El Fiscal. Now, as we said earlier, Dragon Lee getting the victory tonight over Dom was to make it seem like Dragon Lee could have a shot in this tournament. You don't have Dom defeat him a week before the tournament, then it just looks like mincemeat. So that's kind of like why they did what they did. So Penta beats Laredo Kid tonight. Great match. I mean, fans got into the match as it went on, but nobody cared about Laredo Kid. It's a AAA guy. I mean, he's not a household name in the United States. You know, he's a Mexican wrestler wearing a costume. It's really what it is. We get Division in the back being asked, why do you have so much angst against Alpha Academy? And I would have went back and said, why do you care? I mean, Logan Paul is talking about something with Otis's cholesterol level, and Theory is bragging once again he has pussy and Otis doesn't. They walk out for Theory's match, and Braun Breaker is just standing there stoic. He's just like this. Braun. He just stoic. So he snaps out of it, and Braun looks at Byron Saxton, and he says, do you think Obafemi's the future? What do you think of Obafemi? And Byron Saxton says, I like him. And Braun says, do you think he's the future? And Byron Saxton looks at Braun Breaker and says, well, that's what Brock said. Braun Breaker looks at Byron Saxton says, you sound a lot like Paul. And he walks off. He goes to ringside. So next thing I know, we get Austin Theory beating Tozawa with the off switch as his forearm. This actually went to a commercial break. This actually went like 6 or 7 minutes. Tozawa has a crowd reaction. There's no question about it. But I can't remember. I think it was during the pandemic where I saw a sign that said I paid to see Akira Tozawa. And that's sarcasm because there were no live fans during the pandemic. This is a guy that you politely, clap for, but nobody cares about. Austin Theory beat him clean. Otis is not there because of what happened. So Otis is off TV. Royce Keys is off TV. He's out now in storyline 2. And after the match is over, you get a post-match beatdown. Adam Pearce comes out, officials come out. Austin Theory rolls out of the ring. Logan Paul is already outside the ring. Everybody's focused on Austin Theory and Logan Paul, and that leaves Braun Breaker in the ring by himself with Akira Tozawa. So Braun sets up to do his spear. Oba's music hits. Oba comes down. He's very slowly going to the ring. Fans are chanting him big time, big time. And Oba just stops. He's down the ringside area on the floor, staring at Braun. Braun is staring at him back. And, of course, we want to see these two go at it, but we're going to get this for the foreseeable future. So the officials come in the ring, and they separate these guys before they can even go at each other. Nobody tries to throw punches. No, it's funny because this time around, when it comes to police, Obafemi's kind of like Brody King, but he gets to act it out. Obafemi beats up all the cops that are in his way with Brock Lesnar. But when officials are in their way for Braun Breaker, he just politely stands there. The Woola. Beat up cops, but don't beat up WWE officials. So we don't get nothing. And honestly, it's good we don't get nothing yet. But I'm hoping if the storyline gods will allow it within 2 weeks, I think Division, even if it's Austin Theory, poor bastard, they have to attack Obafemi. Can't let what Paul Heyman said to Braun tonight and let that simmer for more than 2 or 3 weeks. Then it looks just stupid. It makes Braun Breaker look ridiculous. Paul, do you think he's the future? Why do you respect him? I will continue respecting Oba until you give me a reason not to. Now, if that matters to Braun Breaker at all, I break Oba's legs next week. I don't wait 2, 3, 4 weeks. Why would I want Paul to keep respecting him? Just think about it for a minute. That's why this storyline can be very dumb very quickly. So we get that. Rey Mysterio's in the back with Kathy Kelly. He's interrupted by Dragon Lee, who is very thankful for being in this tournament. He appreciates the opportunity. Dominic shows up. Dominic feels disrespected. Why is this clown in the tournament? And I'm not. I'm the mega campeon and all this stuff. Now, we know why he's not in the tournament, because we have to make Brian Alvarez look like a clown. Honestly, you know how you fall asleep and when you're in REM mode, like everything is upside down? Like for some reason you're like floating in the air. Your house is like built over an ocean. Somebody will shoot at you 55 times and they never seem to connect. Like while you're in REM mode, this is the point where we kind of feel like, all right, Dominic should be in the tournament. But we don't put him in the tournament because we want Brian Alvarez to look like a clown. Like in my alternate universe tonight when I'm in REM mode, we have the same segment. I'm dreaming about Raw tonight. We have the same segment. Rey Mysterio's in the back with Kathy Kelly. He's talking about the tournament, and then Dragon Lee shows up. Ray, I am so thankful and so appreciative for you putting me in the tournament. And then Dominic shows up and says, why is this clown in the tournament and I'm not? I'm the mega campeon. And then you have Rey Mysterio look at Dominic and not say because you're a jerk. No, you just say because if I put you in a tournament, it makes Brian Alvarez look credible. We have to make him look like a goof. So you can't be in the tournament. Neither can El Grande Mexicano. Get the fuck out of this office. We must keep Brian Alvarez looking like a goof. So that's what I'll be dreaming in REM mode tonight. But that's not how it went down, but that's kind of like how it should have gone down. So Dominic is mad. How's about we settle it in the ring today? So again, you're not going to have Dragon Lee lose a week before being in this tournament. You want the suspension of disbelief that those Mexican fans actually think for one night, maybe Penta can dethrone Roman Reigns. Maybe Dragon Lee could dethrone Raymond. Ray Phoenix could. El Clan! Like, I mean, if we're being honest, I don't think any Mexican fan in that building thinks that their said wrestler has a shot against Roman Reigns. Imagine Roman Reigns coming back after whatever you call it, and he's here to save WWE. And no, it's not going to be Oba. It's not going to be Sami Zayn. I almost said Sami Uso. It's not going to be LA Knight. It's not going to be CM Punk. It's not going to be Seth Rollins. It'll be Penta. I like Penta, but I don't expect Penta to be the representative for the whole WWE right now as world champion. So, like I said, this tournament is for Mexican wrestling fans. And don't get me wrong. I think most of us agree it's nice for Penta. Most of us think Penta's the odds-on favorite. That's why I keep saying that. Whoever it is, Krusty the Clown, I don't care, whoever it is, it's a nice thing. I brought it up yesterday when Seth Rollins showed up on NXT, had the match with Braun Breaker before he was ever ready to go to the main roster. When AJ Styles showed up in NXT, when the New Day showed up in NXT. It's cool to have somebody who is established and even Hall of Fame territory and giving a match to someone who is not in that position yet. So having Penta get the opportunity to face Roman Reigns is cool. I make no mistake about it. It is cool. But we already know the outcome. That's the thing. We know the outcome. So this match is designed to give a rub to Mexican fans, because that's where they'll be on Raw. And also in return, you give someone a little shot, someone that would not normally get that opportunity. That's what this comes down to, plain and simple. So that match is set up tonight. Stephanie Vaquer hits the ring. I missed Monday night. I missed this ring. I missed all of you. No one can destroy me, and I will go after the Judgment Day one by 1. She then touts her success against Raquel Rodriguez in the past. She calls Roxanne Perez a dead woman, which something tells me that might get altered on the Netflix replay. And she says that Liv is scared, and we both know why, because that title belongs to me. Becky Lynch's music hits. So Stephanie Vaquer asks Becky, what do you want? Becky says we both want the same thing, but for different reasons. Becky don't like Liv, but Becky also feels that Liv is bringing that championship back 20 years. I think she said like mid-2000s, but 20 years. She puts over Stephanie Vaquer, her aura, everything about her. But Becky says, listen, that title doesn't need any more bad luck. You want to go after Liv, you want to settle your score with her, fine. But that title belongs to me. That title does not deserve any more bad luck. The titles are my domain. You don't deserve that title deserves me. That's Becky Lynch. Stephanie says, don't get in my way. And then she leaves the ring. And as she walks down the rampway, Liv Morgan shows up, lays out Becky Lynch from behind. Stephanie Vaquer makes the save. More jaw-jacking with Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer. And then this time around, Becky Lynch leaves the ring. So that's what we got now. LA Knight having the audacity to tell Kathy Kelly that Roman Reigns says the same old boring shit every single week. Meanwhile, he's doing the very same thing. Later on, he did it with Adam Pearce too. Still calling Roman Reigns a fraud. Complaining about the tournament. He's going to put a lucha mask on and be in the tournament. It's the same thing every week. So Solo Sikoa shows up. And more recycled bullshit. Solo Sikoa is trying to get through LA Knight. And LA Knight is focused on Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa says, but you don't understand. This is not just about Roman Reigns, it's about the entire bloodline. I'm like, where the fuck did I hear this before? It's the same stuff with Seth Rollins. It's the same stuff with the Usos back. It's the same stuff it's the same thing. This isn't just about Roman. This is about the entire bloodline. We've heard this over and over and over and over again. So I guess Solo Sikoa was giving LA Knight advice. I don't know. I guess that's what it was. It's just same recycled stuff over and over again. Dragon Lee beats Dominic Mysterio clean. Right after the match, before you even absorb that Dominic lost, Big Cass shows up, lays out Dragon Lee. Javon Evans goes to make the save, and he ends up getting laid out as well. And, Big Cass getting some heat. But like I told someone in the comments earlier on YouTube, responding to some of your comments, I remember when AOP was laying people out. You lay out a baby face, you will get some heat. But it's not long-lasting. And quickly the AOP fizzled out. Others fizzled out. Where does this go? He's going to keep beating up small guys. He's probably going to lay out Rey Mysterio. He's probably going to lay out Chad Gable because we're getting that match. Oh, gee, more recycled stuff. Chad Gable is in the back with Penta and Rey Mysterio. I don't even need notes to get into this one. Chad Gable loves Penta. You're my favorite. I think Penta might have said the same thing back, which really didn't make any sense. But anyway, he congratulates Penta on his victory in the tournament. Penta walks off. Chad Gable stays there with Rey Mysterio. And gee, where did I hear this story before? Rey, it would be, let me do it in my Penta voice. It would be my honor to face you for this championship. Didn't they just do that with Rey Mysterio a couple of months ago? Rey, it would be my honor to defend this championship against you. Chad Gable did the very same thing tonight. I want to defend this title. It would be an honor to defend it against you. So Rey says, yeah, okay, I accept. Chad's like, I'm going to talk to Pierce. Now, if I'm Adam Pearce, I'm like, again, everything is recycled. Everything we talked about has been done before. I mean, we got bored and complacent with Vince McMahon and some of the recycled bullshit. When you start really examining this, it's the same. None of this makes WWE Unreal. If you think about it, imagine if half this stuff showed up on Unreal. People would be like, oh my God, where did I see this before? I knew I heard this before. You know, something tells me they did this before. Like, week in and week out, they just like, who could be the role of Penta this time around? Oh, Chad Gable. Who could do this? Like Solo. Yeah, he'll warn LA Knight this time around. Last month it was LA Knight warning Royce Keys. It's just like, oh my God. You know what it feels like? It feels like they must have some type of like a bucket in the back, or that thing where they spin with the lottery balls. And they're like, we're going to rehash this storyline. Who gets to do it this time? They have certain names and they just pull it out. All right, LA Knight, you're going to do it. Chad, you're going to do it, right? It's like, let's recycle. I'm telling you. And the balls are probably recycled plastic as well. Sol Ruca is about to reveal her partner tonight to take on the Judgment Day. And if you couldn't put two and two together, we all knew it was going to be Io Sky. Couldn't have been Becky. She was out earlier. Couldn't have been Stephanie Vicass. She was out earlier. Before she could reveal it's Io Sky, Danhausen shows up. Oh, Solhausen. Let me be your partner. No, I already have a partner. Dang it. And he walks off. There's your Danhausen for the week. So, Sol Ruca comes out. Io Sky is a partner. And we get the tag match. It was a good match. You know, obviously, this was designed to give a little bit of a rub to Sol Ruca, give a little something for Io Sky as well. In the end, they worked great together. They even hung out in the back later on. Sol Ruca even called Io dude, if you go back and watch it, before they ran into crackhead Lyra. It was a good match. Sol Ruca ends up hitting the Soul Snatcher on Roxanne Perez, leaves her unconscious. And Sol Ruca and Io Sky get a nice victory over Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Decent match. LA Knight bumps into Jacob Fatu. And this was the part I was saying earlier. LA Knight's running his mouth to Adam Pearce about Roman Reigns being a fraud. And, you know, Jacob Fatu gets into LA Knight's face, and LA Knight reminds Jacob Fatu that you need to get permission to put your hands on me. Obviously, Jacob Fatu will get that permission. Similar to when Jacob Fatu did what he did with that horrible actor that did the movie with John Cena. That'll happen to LA Knight very, very soon. So, LA Knight's talking shit. Jacob Fatu interrupts him. And Jacob Fatu does his thing. I will dog walk your bitch ass. And the crowd pops. And I'm like, here it comes. If you watch that crowd tonight, about 90% of it was middle-aged white people and kids. And then all of a sudden, Jacob Fatu does his catchphrase. And you hear the entire building go, if you ain't know, Jacob Fatu is all gas, no brakes. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm listening to all these people do it. I'm like, oh my God. They're all doing Jacob Fatu. You don't, just imagine somebody from Norfolk, Virginia going to fucking Compton in California. And you pull over, sir, I need directions. Can you direct me to where the Arroz con Pollo restaurant is? And you're like, you know, they're like looking at it and all like gangs hanging out and everything. And you get some guy that's like, you know, I'll dog walk your ass. If you don't know, I'm all gas, no brakes. You know what I mean? I guarantee you some people in the audience are like, yabba dabba doo. Fatu. Gesundheit. Sol Ruca walking in the back with Io Sky. She bumps into Lyra Vicaria. Lyra gets in the face of Sol. You know, you get in my way. You know, we're going to have problems. And Io Sky wants to laugh. She's looking, if you go back and watch it, Io Sky is just staring at Lyra Valkyria. Lyra Valkyria, I guess, like, whatever she's trying to be, I guess one of the side effects is you got purple eyes. And she looks funny. And I don't know what she's wearing now. It's almost, and I'm not trying to be controversial, it almost looks like that she like snuck into Obafemi's closet and put on like something brown. She was wearing something tonight and she's threatening Sol Ruka. Io Sky's just looking at Lyra and you can see she wants to laugh and then Lyra walks off and she's like, ew. But it was funny, man. Lyra, you see where this is going. Lyra and Sol Ruka will start brawling for Raquel's belt. Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch will end up brawling over Liv's belt. And maybe Roxanne Perez sneaks in and gets a briefcase. That kind of feels like where this is all going. So then we get the main event. And honestly, the main event sucked. And I'll tell you why it sucked. Think of the whole storyline with the bloodline. Think of everything that Solo Sikoa has gone through. Think of his current character. The whole stipulation is, if I lose, I have to serve Roman Reigns. Something Solo Sikoa absolutely doesn't want to do. If I win, they leave me alone forever. You would think that Solo Sikoa would want to be within an inch of his life before he gets pinned. And we get a typical Raw main event complete with commercial breaks. And then we get a Jimmy Uso distraction and Jey Uso just hitting his finishers. Solo gets pinned. 12-minute match. 8-minute match, I would say. It did not feel like someone who was trying to break free from the bloodline. You just imagine, you have like a bunch of just pain in the ass gnats, just pain in the ass family members. Oh my God, if I could get that Men in Black wand, they'd all fucking disappear. And you give somebody a stipulation, hey, I'll fight you in the ring, let's do a wrestling match, let's have a card game. Let's do this, let's do that. And if you win, you don't have to deal with them for the rest of your life. I would be within an inch of my life trying to fucking get away from them. Here it's a Jimmy Uso distraction, a finisher. If it was SummerSlam, Solo would have kicked out. If it was an AEW ring, Solo would have kicked out. If it was a Saturday night's main event, Solo would have kicked out. But it's Monday Night Raw, so a distraction, a finisher, done. And I'm like, why do I care? Why are we supposed to cheer Solo? Are we supposed to boo Solo? Are we supposed to trust him? Are we supposed to boo Jacob Fatu? What he did to Royce Keys? Are we supposed to cheer it? If we cheer it, what does that say about Royce Keys? Do we boo Jimmy Uso, Big Jim? Do we cheer him? Are we so like this is just all over the fucking place? Wasn't feeling Raw tonight. I mean, we recap it, we review it. And trust me, I'll say this in closing. As good as Raw was last week, this was the complete opposite. Raw last week felt like a night after WrestleMania. I don't know what this week was, but man, I mean, as great as Raw was last week, this was not. And it's disappointing. Now, one last thing before we start bringing this home. And I'll spend like 10 minutes answering some questions, especially if there's anything from yesterday. Zilla Fatu appears to have finished up some indie dates. Worked House of Glory, was their champion. Gave a speech, and apparently he is done. There's obviously some teasing going on online. Zilla has teased before about a WWE future that really was not ready as of yet. I look at Zilla Fatu, and there's no question he's got ability. But I think we all agree that it feels like there's something missing with him. Like, his hair is too short, or he just looks like another Samoan guy with tattoos. Like, there's no aura about him. And I'm not crapping on him. I'm saying this for a reason. I get the vibe he may go to NXT. I get the vibe this might be similar to the path of Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa went from MLW and some of the other companies to NXT. And I remember when he first debuted, fans were chanting, Uso, Uso. And, they really were not really acknowledging his lineage. Of course, in no time they had to. But I truthfully believe Solo Sikoa benefited from that NXT run. Not that he really needed to improve. Solo Sikoa was already great in the ring. But the WWE Universe got familiar with Solo. After being on NXT for so long and people talking about it on social media, see, right now, Zilla Fatu shows up in rumors and shows up in indie event results. The casual, everyday WWE fan, and the everyday WWE fan doesn't have Zilla Fatu on their radar. And I guarantee there's a shitload of people that never even seen him do a match. So by having him in the NXT machine for a little while on a weekly basis, you get the commentators talking about them. You get Booker T and Vic Joseph and Shawn Michaels. Busted Open, being obviously a WWE shill now, will put him over that much more. And as fans get used to Zilla Fatu on a weekly basis, I don't know what you're going to call him. I have a feeling they may change his last name to Tonga. You had Talia Tama. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I feel like they got to change his name. I don't think you bring him in as Zilla Fatu. I mean, they have Jacob Fatu. I know some of you are probably going to say that right now. Why can't they have Jacob Fatu? Why don't they have Zilla Fatu? I kind of feel like Jacob Fatu, like he's the only Fatu name right now. I mean, I'm not saying that the other wrestlers don't have really that last name. They do. But what I'm saying is, as far as the WWE Universe goes, the only Fatu is Jacob. You understand? So I think they'll probably change his name entirely. But I think as he continues, and look, if they're going to get rid of Tala Tonga and Tama Tonga, best thing for him is to be in NXT. You bring him to television right away. Who is he aligned with? You're going to put him with Roman and the Usos and Solo? Even if Solo goes against this next week and Solo lays people out and is still not, Plus, the weird thing is, in storyline, how does Adam Pearce force this? Think about that. Like, if Solo Sikoa says, fuck you, and lays out Roman Reigns, is Adam Pearce going to come out? No, Solo, you must be in there. It is official. Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. So if it was up to me, Solo says, it's a curse, but obviously Solo doesn't abide by what happened this week. We'll see. We will see. But I think Zilla Fatu will do just fine. But I think going to NXT might be the best way to go for now. I think that's just my opinion. I don't know how you all feel about it. So I do want to mention a shout out from earlier, because I think this is a very valid point to bring up. And this is from Craig Rowe Jr. And he says, is the women in WWE just sloppy? He watches AAA, and those women seem to be tougher and more violent. Saul Ruka needs to go back to NXT. Here's the thing. And listen, I'm not the biggest Saul Ruka fan. I don't have any issue with her. I think as time goes by, she will get better. She'll get seasoned. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jade Cargill. Not in look or style, but what I'm saying is Jade Cargill, when she first graduated to the main roster, there was still a lot of learning to do, and I believe there still is. Saul Ruka did tremendous in NXT. But here's the thing, and this is just my opinion. a lot of Sol Ruka's opponents in NXT have similar years put in. Some are newer, some had a little bit more, but on average, I think they're all, fairly new. You bring Sol Ruka to the main roster, and you have women all around her that are already adapted to the main event, the main roster style. That's something Sol Ruka needs to adapt to. She needs to pull back in a lot of ways. The timing is a big deal. You put women in a match with Sol Ruka, and they haven't really worked that much together. It's not very easy to have perfect timing to eat a soul snatcher. Look at Javon Evans. Javon Evans, he is, in a lot of ways, the opposite of Sol Ruka. For some reason, Javon Evans got to the main roster and nailed it immediately. That guy hits his fucking finisher. Every single person, it looks like something you'll watch 5 years from now. Like if you watch some of Randy Orton's RKO out of nowheres, you see some infamous ones from years ago. You look at the Shelton Benjamin, you see the other things. He just nailed it. The OG Cutter from day one. And most of the people that are taking it are not people that worked with him on a regular basis. The timing is just amazing. And it's not just the person taking the move, it's Javon Evans setting up the perfect way. Sol Ruka's, her move is a little bit more difficult because it is in such a short amount of space in the ring. And it is a lot shorter to set up. You literally, if you watch, Javon Evans could set up and wait a few seconds before he executes it. All I'm saying is that a lot of Sol Ruka's opponents are people that she has not worked with for long periods of time. So there's a curve. There's a learning curve. There's adapting. And I think as time goes by, Sol Ruka will adapt. And I think the only way this continues is with house shows. She works a lot of the house shows. But the problem is these house shows are few and far between. So what do you do in the meantime? You're not going to simply just go to the performance center and just keep hitting fucking soul snatches on everyone. It's not like something you want to fucking do 50 times a day. So I think with Sol Ruka, it's just getting used to the main roster style. I think it's women that have been on the main roster for a much longer time who have adapted are going to have to get used to Sol Ruka's style a little bit too. So that's why I kind of give her a little bit of a break. But as far as AAA goes, this is the thing that I see. There is so much more leeway as far as what you could do in AAA. You can get a little bit more out of the box. Some people will call some of the moves, extra violent. Some of those women, that women's roster is a lot smaller too. So you're getting a lot of women who are used to being in bed with each other, and I don't mean that in any perverted way. So in AAA, you can get away with a lot more. WWE is very, very organized. It is just done much differently. And there is obviously a lot of risk and a lot of trust involved. And, if you see even with a lot of the wrestlers who've come from AAA or even from AEW, it's kind of amazing to see that Rey Fenix hasn't gotten, seriously injured. If you remember in AEW, he got injured numerous times. And some of those injuries were preventable. Some of them were not, but some of them were. But that was because wrestlers were allowed to do so much more and be a little bit more extra risky. Yeah, you might be able to get convinced WWE to let you take a move or execute one once in a blue moon, but not on a weekly basis. Plus, again, it depends on who your opponent is. AAA is just a different style. And, look, even when you look at some of the WWE wrestlers that are working when they go to AAA, even the Viking Raiders, like when you see the Viking Raiders doing what they're doing in AAA, it is a little bit different at times compared to the WWE main roster. It's just a different style. It's kind of Japan. I think Japan is the best example of it. You look back to Hulk Hogan. I know Hulk Hogan is not a popular topic, but I think it's a great example. You look at Hulk Hogan when he wrestled in Japan. You go back to the days when he fought, in the 90s, in the 80s, and people are like, oh my God, he actually could work. And then you realize in the United States, this is not what fans wanted to see. They watered him down and gimmicked him, and that's what allowed him to have a much longer career. In Japan, you can't get away with that shit with fans. He could hulk up, he could do all of his mannerisms, but he also had to work. And if you ever watch the Hulk Hogan match in Japan, you see the clear difference. You see, you're like, wow, he actually can work a little bit, because that's how it is in Japan. You can't get away with doing just gimmick stuff. So that's kind of like how I look at it with AAA also. AAA, and I'll leave you with this in closing. Look at the quality of matches in AAA. Not all of them, but a good portion of them. You look at matches that Natty has had. You look at the Viking Raiders. You look at other wrestlers, even Chad Gable. You see, and listen, we're putting the match with Mask versus Mask aside because that was just something special on a different level. But even when you looked at Ethan Page when he worked AAA, you look at Chelsea Green, you look at, even to an extent, Lola Vice. When you see what they're doing in AAA and then you see what they're doing in a WWE ring, I know they're all owned by the same company, but the point is the matches are different because you can't get away as much as just going through the motions in AAA. If you're extremely popular and if you're over, yeah, you could get away with Gaga, but Gaga is not your quintessential normal style there. So you actually have to work a little bit harder. And that's why I think some of the women in AAA come off a little bit differently. So that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Bobby Means wants to know, do I see Sammy Guevara in NXT? Or do I think he's better off in AAA? Well, he's worked Mexican wrestling already. I think if Sammy Guevara were to be picked up from WWE, I absolutely would put him in NXT. I would not put him in AAA, not in the beginning. I wonder what you call him. I'm a little concerned about, listen, and you know what? I don't even want to say it like that because, again, I've said this a million times in the past. Not every wrestler in wrestling, not every wrestler's goal is the WWE grind. Like, if you remember yesterday when I got into Seth Rollins' match numbers, not every wrestler wants to work 150, 200 matches a year. So Sammy Guevara might be content with where his career is at right now. He may feel, hey, I make a living, my bills are paid, I got a wife, I got a kid, everything is good. That might be good for him. So we can't always envision a wrestler going to the next level because I don't think every single wrestler wants that. I don't know what Sammy Guevara wants. We don't know. I don't know if Sammy Guevara has that in him where he wants to become a WWE superstar larger than life, household name. He might be content where listen, obviously he's frustrated being restricted to Ring of Honor and sometimes not even that. But at the same time, though, we don't know how much he wants to commit to a WWE schedule. So if he were to sign with WWE, I would think NXT first. And you don't have to rebuild him because the guy could work. But I think you have to reintroduce him to wrestling because he's in his mid-30s now. He's no longer the Spanish God. He's no longer, I don't want to say a teen heartthrob, but he's a middle-aged man. Well, not a middle-aged man, but he's in his mid-30s. He's older. And, it's to the point now where you got to look at him differently. So I kind of feel you probably would have to repackage him a little bit. So I wouldn't make him a pillar of anything. He just happened to be a homegrown AEW guy that was there from nearly the beginning, that was young, that was very loyal and worked hard, and they immediately put him like a pillar. It reminds me of the Yankees from the 90s when you had, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, and Jorge Posada. I think they were the core four, right? I think those were the four. But as years go by, it's looked at much differently. It wasn't, like Andy Pettitte is not revered anywhere remotely like, I'm not saying that he should be compared to Mariano or Jeter, but what I'm saying is when you got four guys that are surrounded and around for the longest period of time and with a lot of success, he kind of bunched them together. But as time goes by, obviously, they just happen to be around at the same time. I don't think Bernie Williams, I think, would be really on that list more than anybody else. In fact, I wouldn't even put Andy Pettitte in there. I would put I think I'm right. I think it's Bernie Williams, Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter, and Mariano Rivera. I don't think Andy Pettitte's part of that. So, do I see Moose in the WWE? I'm so confused with Moose, man. I get points where I think Moose is WWE bound, but then I get these feelings that, Moose is at the stage of his career where he wants to work but wind down a little bit. And I think Moose would rather be a small fish, a big fish in a small pond. And I think that's what TNA is. I don't think he wants to be a medium-sized fish in a big pond or a small fish in a big pond. And WWE is obviously a big pond. I think Moose likes being a big fish in a small pond. Yes, you think of, his abilities. Moose would be tremendous in WWE. I don't want to simply compare him strength-wise, physical-wise, and color of his skin. But I think a lot of people would give them a little bit of Bobby Lashley vibes based on his physique and his look and, but I think Moose would do great. I just don't know at this stage of the game, he could still go, but when you bring him in, how does he leapfrog so many people? Look what we're getting right now. You look at some people like Carmelo Hayes and Ilya and others that can't get a fucking break. Moose somehow is going to leapfrog a whole bunch of other people. I just don't see that. So, all right, everybody. I think it's time for me to jet. I don't want to overstay my welcome. We did a very long show yesterday. We did a nice one today. This Wednesday, we have Wednesday Night Dynamite, and then we go back to the same routine. Patreon Thursday. If you're part of our Patreon family, or if you're a channel member here on YouTube, definitely check out this past Thursday's Patreon. We did almost 4 hours. No, we did almost 3 hours, I think. Might have even been more than that, but we got into, it was almost 4 hours. That's right. We got into a shitload of stuff. And a lot of the stuff, the analyzing ended up really coming through. But that was a really solid show. And I'm not doing it as a cheap plug. You want to go check it out, absolutely. But so definitely post your comments. If you notice today, I was responding to quite a few of you from last night's show. I will do that again tonight, tomorrow. I will definitely spend a little bit more time, and we go from here. So I do want to shout out Theme Parks and Things with Johnny before we get out here, because he sent me something earlier, and I thought this was very nice of him. He said that I mentioned Cross earlier, and he's been very happy with what he's been doing on the indies, and MLW, and thought about Kev, and he wishes Kev was able to see it. And, you know, the funny thing is, this week is the 1 year anniversary. This past week was the 1 year anniversary that Cross left WWE. And forget about the stuff I said earlier. I think the one thing when I look back on is that interview he did with Ariel Helwani a year ago is quite eye-opening. And the reason why I say that is because we all know that Cross is a great worker. He cares. He cares about his supporters. He's very, very friendly online. He doesn't have a secretary answering his tweets. It's him. He truly looks out for people. But when he got let go last year, and a weekend he does the interview with Ariel Helwani, and he doesn't understand why WWE handled his contract renewal the way they did, we would learn a short time after. And man, what a fucked up way for WWE to treat not only him, but Scarlett. I mean, Ariel Helwani had never heard of it before. I had never heard of it before. We haven't heard anything like this since. They presented a contract offer to Cross a year ago. And money-wise, a little better than what he was paid before. And he wanted to know how they came up with that number. Because remember, if you think of Jinder Mahal in the bucket, all right, it isn't simply, hey, you're offering me X amount of dollars. How did you come up with that number? That's what we think you're worth. That's good enough for me. Where do I sign? That's not how it works. I don't think Crosshead is an agent. I think Scarlett was his representative, or is now. And Cross wanted to know from WWE, how did you come up with this number? There's a lot of analytics behind it. There's a lot more than just, we want to pay you this amount of money. There's a lot behind it. And Cross wanted to know. And they didn't tell him. And many people, even when they're released, if you ever ask them, they'll tell you that, most people do know. And they have a right to know. And he didn't think he was asking for anything out of the box. He just wanted to know, how did you come up with this number? And they told him, you have 24 hours to sign it. If you don't sign it in 24 hours, we take it off the table. I'm going to be honest with you. I never asked I never asked Cross. And I don't think I want to know the answer. But, and I have a feeling he would tell me the answer, and I think he would trust me that I would never say the answer publicly. And he does tune in still. Not every day, but if he happens to hear this, who told you only have 24 hours? That's what I would like to know. I mean, I would never say it publicly, but I'm very curious. Who in the WWE said to Cross, if you don't sign this in 24 hours, the deal is off the table? That is just, to me, that is fucked up. And the worst part about it, and listen, I talk about it in a very unprofessional way, obviously. The way I talk is not the way those guys handle business. But it pretty much was, well, what about Scarlett? Oh, don't worry about it. Just sign the deal. We'll worry about it next week. And you realize, not trying to be disrespectful, but you realize WWE probably was not looking to bring back Scarlett, because the offer was only for Cross. And Cross is like, well, what about Scarlett? Don't worry about it right now. Just sign the deal. We'll worry about it next week. And something tells me if Cross would have signed that deal, next week would have never came for Scarlett. And then what do you do? I commend him for standing by his guns and taking a chicken shit situation and turning it into chicken salad. He's killing it on the indies. He's making good money. He's having the time of his life. He's working with his wife. They're getting to tour with their friends, Shotzi and others. You see the quality of matches. You see the promos. You see, the character, his charisma coming out more. And you say to yourself, why didn't WWE allow that to happen? And you realize, and I believe this, and I think Cross understands this too. Remember what we said earlier about Jordynne Grace? Why the WrestleVotes thing is kind of ridiculous. You know, nothing personal, but it is. There's only so many spots in the book. There's only so many main event spots in the book. And WWE does not make special room for someone because the IWC gets very vocal about it. Doesn't matter if it's Karrion Kross or Kairi Sane. Doesn't matter if it's R-Truth is probably the only exception to the rule, and I personally think in a year or two he's gone too. And that'll be it. Nothing against him, but I just kind of see that. The thing is, you know, like WWE had a clear-cut path. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, you know, maybe a little bit, you know, Sami Zayn, but not really. And that's it. That's it. People bitch about LA Knight. You know, do you really think LA Knight's going to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns? I certainly don't. It's kind of like they're pacifying everyone, like, all right, here's his shot, Money in the Bank, and that'll come and go, and then it'll be it. Sami Zayn, we saw what they did with him. You know, what did people say? Oh, WWE never saw Sami as a merchandise draw, which is ridiculous. After all these years, you say that shit now? That's just people trying to get ad revenue. But the point is, Cross forced the narrative and stepped it up to the point where WWE is like, no, what are you doing? We don't want you to be one of the leaders of the company. You know, we want you to be a supporting actor. You know, why can't I go public and, you know, like be supportive of fans and, you know, do this and that? You know, like, no, we want you to be a heel. No, you're not. No. Just know your role and shut your mouth. This is your position. But I could do here, and everybody wants to see me here. WWE didn't want him there. They wanted him here. And nothing he was going to do was going to break through that. You know what? How could it broke through that mold if people got injured, multiple people got injured, or some people quit, or some people just retired? That could have opened up opportunity. But even if they bring him back, you might get that little surge, and then I think it goes right back to where it was before unless opportunities open. You feel like TKO, you could predict 6 months from now. Obafemi is an exception to the story. Braun Breaker is the future. There's some people, it's kind of like in 2002, when Linda McMahon said the future is John Cena and Randy Orton. They have people that they foresee as to be the cornerstone of WWE. Cross was never looked at like that. And when Cross amped it up and got himself over, WWE's like, no, we're still not changing our mind. That's just the way it is. But I know Kev is smiling right now, knowing that Cross is in control of what he's doing right now. And that's what makes it so good. So, all right, everybody. I'm outie. And we think about Kev. Much love. I always keep his graphic here. I always keep it here. I look at it every time I start a show. And I miss him very much. And it just really sucks to still look back on it and realize what happened, man. We got to just carry on. We just got to carry on. And me, you know, DTKC for life, man. Even if I end up getting picked up on a network, or if I get a new co-host in the future, if I get signed somewhere, one thing is for certain, you will never see me pull like what Busted Open did. And I'm not trying to compare myself, but, you know, my style, my authenticity, keeping it 100, that will never change. You know, I might have to cut down on the verbiage a little bit, and maybe not say some of the things. But point is, you know, I mean what I say and I say what I mean, and I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff simply because it's the right thing to do, or you might piss off some people. No, you know, if you can't handle it, there's a lot of other shows out there that you could check out instead. So I will always keep it 100. Always keep it 100. And that was one of our top commandments, Kevin and I. Always treat you with respect. Never clickbait you, and just tell it like it is. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes the answers is not what people want to hear. But I think sometimes it's better to educate some people, especially on the business side of things, so you understand why things are done. Look at the Netflix thing. Did you see, like, Becky Lynch's line got edited from last week when she talked about Dominic and the live stuff? Of course that was going to be edited. When we talked about other countries and standards and practices and WWE being family friendly, there's a couple of things that, you know, Netflix is going to be like, no, that can't get away with this country. So they'll just edit it out for everybody. That's just the way it is. But again, unless it's a Meltzer that says it or another site, nobody puts any credence in it. They'll still act like, we don't know why it was censored, or we know damn well why it was censored. So that's what we do here, and that's what I'll always do. So much love, everybody. I'm out of here. Let me get this shit online, get my ass to sleep, and we'll pick it up on Wednesday. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.